is a saying that every startup or a company, there is some story to start with. Could you describe the birth of Investonline?
So, see, I'll give a little bit of background about Investonline or what we do really as such. The company which owns Investonline is called Abchlor Investments. Abchlor Investments was formed by me in 2004, and I am an ex-banker. I was working for a private sector bank earlier. Prior to that, I was with the International Bank. And the reason to form Abchlor was specifically because of the misconduct which was really happening at private banks, right? Which was typically mis-selling products and wrong selling, specifically happening to investors. I genuinely saw a niche here because, when you mis-sell and you sell the wrong products to anyone, typically you lose the clients sooner or later. It can be a year or two or maybe sometime after that, right? It's bound to happen.
Yes.
So I saw an opportunity where we potentially create good financial plans and portfolios for clients. They are there to stay. And the best part about any business or service that you provide is that you do a good job and 10 people follow automatically because you keep getting referred and so on, right? So that's how Abchlor was formed. 1 year into the business, I realized that though we are doing a lot of effort and we had a good set of customers already, the probability of growing, which specifically banks considering the network or other large distributors who were there in the market, was very easy because they had already created a scale by being open all across the country, and in many cases even internationally. We were a new company, a new startup. Naturally, we didn't have the kind of funds. We didn't raise money from outside. It was all the money I had, which I received from a provident fund and all these places, which I actually got together and formed the company. So I thought the only way to reach, instead of opening branches and actually creating more of real estate and thereby creating fixed costs and because of all these fixed assets, but it's best to go online. Now, it's easier said than done. I mean, I assumed it will not be such a task to go online, but it actually became a task because we were very nascent, right? The only two online players in the market who would invest primarily into mutual funds online, because that's what we used to do then, were only in ICICI Direct and K Street, which was owned by Kotak. And these two were basically monopolized the market because the way they used to open accounts were, I don't know if you recall, but they were 3-in-1 accounts and 7-in-1 accounts, which they used to open up at the bank level. So Kotak Bank and ICICI Bank and their branches would actually go out and sell these products where you open a bank account, a securities account, a demat account, an online mutual fund account, and so on and so forth, right? It was a huge documentation of some 100, 200 signatures. And if you're not a bank, you can't do the business, which was not gelling well with me. So this idea came from there, that what can I do to actually create a situation where a non-bank can actually start an online portal for investing in mutual funds. So it was a long process. It took me probably a year and a half to even figure how I'll start and where I'll start, and multiple rejections because you're a new startup, you're not that big to even go and command any position in the market. So, and people would not really pay this. They say it's not possible to do it. So after a lot of back and forth, a lot of consultations, and a lot of thought process, I realized the best way to go by the payment gateway method. Because I figured that even the mutual funds per se actually use payment gateways to process their SIPs and their auto debits and all these things. Right? So I said best is to talk to them. So I created an opportunity at then called Bill Junction, which was also an ICICI company. Bill Junction was later called Tech Process Solutions Limited. So I spoke to them and we figured a way where we could create a system where they could transact for us. Now, even for someone like payment gateway, for them, for third-party non-bank doing it was not really happening. So we figured, we created some formulas, we created some kind of documentation which worked. We tried with only one AMC initially, to just where we had good contacts and we knew people there, and we could go right up and tell them to help us do it and create this. And even AMCs were not online those days, right? So it was starting from scratch. That's how it started. It worked well. The biggest thing, also the learning was, being primarily into planning and selling all my life, I didn't really have the experience of what really was the background of a mutual fund, right? how a unit is created. I mean, of course, we know the calculations of NAVs and units and all that, but how really a back office of AMC works. And it's not even AMC, it's a registrar. Even that's a third party. So there's a CAMS and Carvi. Those which have Sundaram, CAMS, Carvi, Franklin, multiple of these people. So we didn't know how those function. So I was surprised to know that Payment Gateway Bill Junction used to actually process all transactions manually for AMCs. So you'll be surprised, there was some 40-50 columns on Excel or DBF which used to get uploaded on the AMCs every day. They used to actually physically create each Excel sheet. It will be name 1, name 2, or 40 columns, your tax status and blah, 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 all those things. So once I figured all that, we automated everything. And yeah, that's how it was born, and it was a complete 100% automation of the entire process. The only one in the market to do it. Difficult process, but love doing it. I mean, I think over the time while we created it, amount we've learned how the industry works, how much we've corrected the registrar's process also, and all this was amazing.
So there was a financial crisis around 2007, 2008. So how would you anticipate, like, it was an early stage startup at that time. It was 4 years. It was 2007, 2008. So
Right.
How do you describe this, and like, did you anticipated this, or how exactly?
So, see, online transactions even today and back then also, frankly, do not contribute a very large portion of revenue for us as a company, right? Because there were at least a lot of restrictions in terms of the amounts you can do online and all that, right? I mean, banks were not even permitting you to do more than 50,000 rupees a day. So we could not do much there. So our main business was always focused on the offline base of customers, which we had high net worth individuals, corporates, trusts, and so on. So actually, it didn't really matter. It was more of 2008 calendar year, which was the entire problem when it started. Of course, it started in the US in 2007. But by the time it reached us was Jan 2008. So it didn't really matter. Actually, we saw a lot of opportunity. You see, when you are selling any product which actually covers these kind of unforeseen circumstances, and as long as you've informed your client this is going to happen, we actually grew that day by 30%. In 2008, our assets actually grew by 30%. So we didn't have any problem as such. But yes, a lot of money keeps on going. Even as of today, we speak into building the technology that we have. And so no, if you're asking from Investonline's perspective, no, we didn't have a problem. But yes, we went out and marketed a lot. The problem is, in our country, investments are still sold. They're not bought. What I mean is, you will not yourself go and you'll say, oh my God, today 9 in the morning, I'll go and buy a mutual fund, I'll go and buy a stock. Unless you're seeing, that, when we'll come to those questions later. So you actually go out and you tell people, hey, listen, this is a good fund, we should buy. Then the guy thinks, because generally, we are like, most of the people think, especially retail investors, that investments are actually a waste of their income and it doesn't come. It's like an expense, not really an investment.
Yeah.
So Investonline typically is a retail investment, right? So retail would not really work. So it was no point. We used to do a lot of ads those days. We used to do, we had hoardings, we had commercials running behind a lot of BST buses in Bombay, more for visibility and so on. Of course, it all went down the drain because markets were too bad for anyone to go on their own and buy. But that was the learning. We understood what works and what does not. And I think it was a great time to even kind of, keep tweaking our systems, because anyway, not too many transactions were happening online those days anyway. So yeah, it was a good time, I would say.
Considering today's competition, so there should be some kind of a competitive edge for any startup or a business. Is there any process, or is there any way that you build up a competitive edge? So there's a lot of people in the market.
Yeah. So if you see broadly, and if you go and compare most of our competitors, all of them are primarily DIY kind of portals, right? So typically, the investor comes online and finds his own scheme and does it, and then moves forward. And it starts and ends there. He takes a call. What different things we do is we actually handhold every client to register with us. Right from the time he comes on board, we don't really push any product to anyone. It's not really a business we are in. We try to understand what the client really wants. And on that basis, we genuinely create portfolios, however big or large a client. So our customer service team actually does that. call every client, figure what they want, not just push a tax plan or a large cap, but just to get the client in and so on. Want to understand their profile. So this is the value that we keep giving. Frequently keep talking to these online clients as well, whether they prefer on chat or whether they prefer Zoom calls now more than anything else. So that also keeps happening with all these clients. I think client engagement is our biggest USP, I would say, and of course our expertise, because of our offline business, which is much larger than the online business, helps us create far more information, and data crunching is far superior. Like research and stuff is far superior than I think anyone else really has. See, typically, the research can start and end in a mutual fund industry, right from knowing what the NAV is to what dividends it is given and who runs it. That's all you need to know. But there's a lot of other analytical data which you can actually use. So we even go to the extent of actually, because we run our PMS as well, we can actually go back and also see what stocks they hold, why they hold it, what is the quality of stocks and so on, which not too many people do. Right, so researching the individual portfolios of funds is also very important. So all these things, really help us to create our own bouquet and our own selection of funds, which we feel will do better. I'm not saying they always do or they don't, but we feel will do better considering the market scenario, because we can afford to run the research on the same platform as well. So even if you today go and check Investonline, we have tried to create a portal which is runs like a e-commerce platform with a lot of UI, then purely having tabular form Excel kind of data on the site. So it's very UI driven. It should be interesting to someone. So we've thought it from a layman perspective. What does he want to see? They're using of course, someone wants to go in depth analysis also they can do. But for a layman to understand what is a beta, what is a mod, and all these kind of terminologies, it doesn't help. It only loses the interest. So yeah, that's what we're trying to create. Our continuous focus is to ensure that simplicity stays on the website endlessly, so that any user, any investor coming should be able to very easily understand what we are trying to showcase from each product, whether it's good, bad, or whatever it may be.
Could you describe what all services the Investonline provide?
Okay, so primarily a platform which helps investors invest into mutual funds online. Now, mutual funds online doesn't only mean just blindly going and buying the portfolios. What goes behind buying a fund? I mean, what goes behind? So if you go to the site and have a look, you'll actually see we have even curated certain schemes and baskets, which makes easier for investors, and we've categorized them over their time investment or their age or risk profile and so on. You can choose those investments. So we are actually kind of bundled a lot of easy to do mechanisms to invest, rather than just blindly just figuring a scheme and doing it yourself, which is also something you can do. That's one. Under mutual funds, there are a lot of times we see where investors already have their running portfolios. You can actually come and upload your portfolio on our website and start tracking it for free. We don't charge anything for that. And you can start using all the tools which we run in the background for your portfolios. The way we showcase our portfolios, whether it's a mobile app or it's on the site, is very detailed and again very UI based, and practically all the information you can think of is available in a UI form. My suggestion is you should create a free account and try to see how it really functions. Like I'm saying, a lot of tools have been created, right? There's a lot of calculators you can work on a website. It's not only about an SIP calculator, which is a very common thing now. It's about retirement, or some people who want to plan their weddings, or so on and so forth, right? Some 10-15 calculators we have. The idea is when you come there, you should get financial sense of whatever you're doing. So many tools like that. We made it easy to purchase schemes by way of card, right? You can simply put 4-5 schemes in a card and buy them together if you like. Similarly, we were the first one to have something called the Lightning SIP. Now, what that really means is when you start an SIP, typically it takes a month for it to activate. We created a kind of a tech-based thing where you can start your first investment of SIP right away, and the SIP continues from next month. So there's no breakage. You can start as of today, right? We were the first ones to actually have online top-up SIP, where we are saying we can automatically set up the system to increase your SIP to a certain percentage or amount as you like for a period of time. So these are all value adds we give. So a lot of things that we do on the mutual fund portal. On the other side, the mutual fund side. On the other side, the other products are life insurance, general insurance. You can choose from life is going live as we speak. Life insurance, but general insurance is already live, where you can compare multiple insurance plans and actually buy it. online, whether it's going to be travel or health or all the gamut. So as we speak, more and more categories are being launched. Health is the first one we have made online. You can actually go and buy a policy right away. Life is also being done as we speak. At the same time, we're also adding a lot of other fixed income products now, where where people like to have regular income better than the banks and so on. So we have curated some products which will be making online soon. So yeah, that's what Investonline is doing at the moment.
In the current scenario, market scenario, like what do you think is a better investment? So is it like there's a cryptocurrency as well, there's a shares, and there's also mutual funds. Like what do you prefer, like any person to have some kind of a portfolio?
So I'm not a huge fan of cryptocurrency. I don't understand crypto if you really ask me. I don't know who really does understand crypto, right? It's a very complicated situation.
Yes.
Because broadly we know what crypto does. But if you ask me, I don't understand it. I hate the volatility. I don't understand the way the pricing works. The 10% average movements on a daily basis, they're only running purely on what momentum is happening, because multiple people think the time to buy and then multiple want to sell. What's really happening in the background, no one knows. It's not the size that they're talking about. So I have no belief. So crypto is a definite no for me. And of course, people talk about it more today because the price has gone up crazy in the last few years. It's fallen also 50% in the last few days. So these things keep happening. But no, I'm not a fan of crypto at all. I always have and I continue to believe that whatever you buy, whether you buy a fund or whether you buy a stock, it has to have certain, I would say at least 80-90% weightage towards the fundamentals of what you're really buying. If you want to choose between stocks and mutual funds per se, both are very different, right? Stocks, individual stock picking is, I would still say, not for the layman. You should stick to mutual funds because it is easier to get a diversified portfolio. If you don't have the time to manage your equities, please leave it to the fund manager to manage it. Of course, keep checking what a fund is doing, whether it's meeting your goals or not. That's very essential. But don't do it every day because it's not going to work. So when you do stocks and you'll be buying and selling, unless you have time to do it, don't get into it. You have time to research stocks, then do it, else stay out of it. So that's how I would rate it. A crypto, no. No ways that someone doesn't have time, or an amateur should be into mutual funds. Experts and who understand, who have the time on their hand, please be into equities and you can choose the right stock and probably, be better off than the mutual fund investors.
Yeah. So during your 20 plus entrepreneurship career, like from the 2004 to till now, so what do you like? Could you share some kind of a story, like the success and failure stories, like so something that still you remember on?
There are many stories, so it's endless. So 2005, we cracked one of the largest deals in the industry these days. The largest investment in a single day into one AMC, into one scheme happened by us. Everyone was taken aback because even banks were not doing those kind of transactions. That was something very dear to me. It happened in 10 months from when we started. So that was a big push. Investonline continues to stay as, I would say, my first child, because it was something that was born out of pure gut. It's a very difficult business. My focus on Investonline has always been to provide as many products as possible in the environment, of course, being completely compliant in the way it's required. There are a lot of non-compliant companies even now. So we have insurance online, we are going to have fixed income online, we have mutual funds online. So as many products as we can. What's really, as a company, we're not focused only distribution. Actually, we have our own PMS, like I mentioned. Our USPs, we come up with a lot of tailor-made and structured products. Could be right from foreign investments, helping Indians invest abroad and doing some research on them too, or creating some financial structures which for the fixed income category, which help investors yield much better than what they're yielding, and those kind of complex products. So if an investor comes to us, he's not restricted to just probably buy a fund or just buy a PMS from us. He gets a variety of products, and every financial need required is serviced by us. Except banking, someone can come and do everything with us. So a lot of such stories which kept going on. We kept on introducing new products, and we still keep doing it. So yes, I would say a lot of hits, few misses, but yes, every business does have its misses. So yeah.
Top skills which is required for any entrepreneur to be successful?
Well, I think, this is one thing I've seen in our country specifically. I've noticed that everyone wants to become an entrepreneur, right? Nothing wrong. You should. It's the problem is people think that once they actually get into so-called business of their own, whatever they're in, life is going to be easy. And money is going to be made far more than what you do in a job, and so on and so forth. Trust me, it is the opposite of that. You don't make any money initially. It can go on for some time. A lot of points of frustration which keep setting in because you're not getting the regular income which you used to get at the end of the month or beginning of the month, right? And that's where the give up problem comes into play. From skills perspective, I think if you are starting any kind of business, unless you know 100% of every single aspect of the business you're going to run, you should not get into it. So I'm not saying that if you are starting an IT company, you need to restrict your knowledge only to IT. No, you can't do that. You need to have knowledge of some basic sense of financial skills also. You need to understand how your company will run financially. You need to have people management skills, because if you don't have a team, you can't run. It's not going to happen. You need to have leadership qualities. You need to have great communication. You are actually required to do a lot. You're basically a child which is completely parented till you become a parent yourself. And all these years requires tons of patience. So unless you have all the skills, don't get into it. There shouldn't be, like I said, if you walk into the office and if there's any team who can probably you can't address the problem. I'm not saying that if I'm an IT company then I need to know what coding is, but I should have a basic idea of how coding works, right? I don't need to sit and code it myself. So you need to understand every aspect. So if you ask me, I can run my own accounts at the office. I can, of course, do part of the IT bit except the coding bit. I can run my own dealing desk if I have to. Of course, and everything else which requires, whether it's fund management or it's suggesting portfolios or understanding or research or whatever it is, right? So practically covers the entire gamut of all the products or the services we have. So if you're asking any skills, I think all the skills are required, and you may not be a master of all, but you need to have the knowledge how to read and understand the skills, and if not, how to find solutions.
One final question now, Abhinav.
Sure.
So any quick advice for in startups, like any entrepreneurs and the people who are running the startup?
When I say this to someone that, don't give up, keep trying. Two most common things you hear from every second person, right? And then of course there are multiple others, I'll come to that. People think these are the two same things. But if I've actually gone and broken this up, don't give up and keep trying are not the two same things. Don't give up. Yes, please do not give up what you're doing, because then you're not really an entrepreneur. You're someone who gives up. Like we discussed, you need a lot of patience. Keep trying is a very broad term, right? The problem is when you are, when you are building something, when you are starting a new thing, you will make tons of mistakes. It's bound to happen. It's not possible that things are going to run smoothly, right? Whoever it may be, whether it was Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, or whoever, everyone has made multiple mistakes. The realization should be that you need to come back on the drawing board, redo it, or can it and do something else, a different product altogether. We don't know, but you should have the courage to come back and believe that this product I am thinking of is not the right product or a service and has to be redone. So this keep trying funda is a very, very, I think it's mistaken. If I believe that the pen I'm writing with is the best pen in the world, no, I don't think that's true. And if it's not selling, then there is a problem, right? So yeah, that should be something where people should be open to criticism. Problem is, entrepreneurs typically fall in love with the product, and they think, and it becomes like that. I mean, like I said, Investonline is my child, and because they fall in love with the child and they are in love with the child, they don't want to see anything beyond that. So that's a very important thing, and you need to know your competitors. You need to know what's in the market. You need to know your research well. So unless you know all these things, very important skill, I think, for an entrepreneur, to know your market, to know what others are doing and what really is going to take to get your product going. You may have a great product, but it may not work for all you know. So yeah, all that research is very important.
It was a lot of knowledge session, so it was a great pleasure to have you on the Founders Call.
Thank you so much. Pleasure having you as well.